Hey guys, this is DoYou-Gi-Oh coming at you today with my top 10 decks of the April 2016 format/ban list. This list was very tight for room in the list, so I may have had a little bias on this list in the bottom 5 part of the list. But I tried my best to make the best list possible. Because of this list was so tight, I had to make some honorable mentions for the list. Firstly, Yin Zhang. This deck was pretty close to making the list because it's just a really good pendulum, fast-paced deck. You summon all your cards on one turn, attack, and then they come back for an attack for you the next turn. It's kind of a one way or another type of deck, but it's still very consistent and definitely a good deck to use. Next, I have Yin Zhang. This is a good stun deck. There's a lot of different builds for this. You can do a lot with this type of deck. It's just cool what you can do with one monster and like a dark hole. You can keep summoning off of your cards getting destroyed, so then you can go into your synchro plays. This deck can even go into cards like Beals, which is really cool. Next on the honorable mentions, I have Blue Eyes. This deck has been very, very consistent and good in the OCG, and it will most likely be carrying over to the TCG once some more support comes out. That's still in the OCG right now. But it is just a good, consistent deck. Got 3 trade-ins. You got the 3 Sage Knight. It's a really consistent, good deck. And then you got the new Melody of Awakening Dragon in the OCG, which will be coming to the TCG hopefully soon. Next and last for the honorable mentions is Phantom Knights, pure Phantom Knights. This is a pretty good rank 3 toolbox deck. It's pretty cheap, except for the break swords, of course. But other than that, you can pick it up for fairly cheap. It's fairly consistent, and it can do a lot of damage. But of course, you're gonna have to run some Burning Abyss card since it's Phantom Knights, but this isn't necessarily PK Fire. Next, this is the number 10 spot, is Tellarknight. I put this deck on this list mainly probably because I really like how this deck plays, but yet it's still a very consistent, fast, good rank 4 deck. It has many Xyz plays to go into. The power with Deneb and Altair just makes the deck really fast and good. Next, for number 9, I have Despots. This deck has been very good in the OCG as of late, and it will most likely be carrying on to the TCG once the new support comes out, like Deskbot 9 and Deskbot Base. But this deck is really good, very consistent, very fast, good search with Deskbot 2 and Deskbot 3 and 4. It even includes pendulums and even synchro monsters. There's a lot that you can do with this deck, and I'm excited to see what to come of it in the future. Next, number 8, I have Cyframe. This is a really good deck if you want to just pick up a deck and then play, because it's just your opponent plays the game, you stop it, and then you counter back with your own plays. Like, in this deck, you can synchro summon on your turn, for crying out loud. Like, that's unimaginable. Like, and then it still has the Cyframe Overload. It is a very, very, very nice deck. Next for number 7, I have Heroes. This deck is still consistent, still good, and still definitely a viable option for dueling with. This deck is just powered by Dark Law, basically. This card just fuels the deck to go into better plays quicker and faster, and then it's just a really good anti-meta deck, and it's fairly cheap and consistent. Next, Synchro Fusionist. If you haven't seen this deck play, or you haven't used it or anything, you should definitely try it out. It is a very, very fun deck to play, and it's pretty consistent. Sometimes you would brick, but even in your bricked hands, you can still go off with a lot of great combos, which makes the deck really nice. Next, I have number 5. This is the obvious stuff, Mermail. Mermail would have been higher on this list if Norden didn't get hit, but because of the hit of Norden, it kind of lowered the deck's potential, but it's still definitely a good deck. It can go into synchros with Deep Sea Diva. It's a good discarding water deck, probably the best water deck around, and it's just really fast and good, especially with Nectabis and still 2 Dragoons. It's really nice. I think if they were going to hit Norden indirectly at Mermails, I think they should have bring up Dragoons to 3 if they made Norden at 1 to kind of balance it out, but that's just me. Next, number 4 is Pepe. Everyone is saying, oh, Pepe is dead, oh, they got hit too much, but they're always gonna be able to find a way out of it. It's still a very fast pendulum deck. It's very good, consistent. They're coming out with new pendulum cards by the minute, and then the deck's just gonna get better from here. It's gonna get some drawbacks eventually again, but this deck is still very good, fast, and consistent. It doesn't have the 3 Gnisters or the Draco face-off anymore, but it is still a really good deck. Number 3 is Monarch. I couldn't put this deck any higher because it bricks way too much, and because you lost the 3 chicken game and the 2 upstart, which kind of lowered the consistency of the deck, but it's still a really nice beatdown deck. You can really win in a landslide victory with this deck easily, but that brick is the reason why I can't put this any higher. Next, for number 2 on this list is Burning Abyss / PK Fire Phantom Knights. Burning Abyss, PKBA. Well, this is a very fast, good rank 3 Xyz toolbox deck. You can go into a lot of different plays, and you can run a lot of different cards in the deck to help boost it in different ways. You could run the PK Fire to be a little more banishing in rank 3 rather than just straight PK Fire with the Dantes and the Beatrice. And now that Beatrice is out, this deck is at full strength. They didn't hit this deck at all on the ban list, which they should have. They helped it actually by making Allure of Darkness at 2. So that's kind of scary for decks in this future. PK Fire / Burning Abyss is definitely a viable contender for the next format. Now for number 1. It's Cosmo. Cosmo, they lost 1 E-Telly and a reasoning. They didn't get hit that bad. They were a really good deck. They got a tiny bit weaker, but it's still enough to be number 1 on this list, because you can just, like, if your opponent has no way to stop a 1500 attack beatstick farm girl from attacking you and taking damage, then look out, Dark Destroyer's coming next. And then you got the Tin Can, 3 Tin Can, 3 Straw Man, 3 Farm Girl, 3 Dark Destroyer, which I still don't understand, 3 Slip Rider, 3 Dog Fighter, 3 Forerunner. It's still a very, very, very viable option, and it is my number 1 deck of the April 2016 format/ban list. That wraps up my video. I hope you enjoyed my top 10 decks of this April 2016 format/ban list.